and Dave Anderson, who is the specialist lighting lead for ADP Consulting, and also a great supporter of our lighting events around the country. He's been several, I would believe. Dave, haven't you done a couple of presentations?
It's been a few now, yes.
Yeah, excellent.
I'm a veteran.
Are you based in Melbourne?
Yes, I'm based in Melbourne, and actually coming live from my spare bedroom in Greensboro. So,
well, this is good to hear. So the topic, wellness and lighting design, human-centric lighting systems in the age of remote work. And for the last 19 years, Dave has consulted on and led numerous iconic projects, both in Australia and overseas. He's the past Victorian Illumination Engineering Society's president and regularly contributes to publications and organises industry events. He's a practicing creative, and he considers himself blessed to have made his passion into his profession. And he, as I say, he's the specialist lighting leader at ADP Consulting. So Dave, over to you.
Thank you very much. Now, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make my a couple of technical difficulties.
That's looking good, Dave.
It's looking good? Okay,
yep.
Sorry, let me just try and see if I can do a full screen. I was having problems before. Is that working?
Yes, that's full screen.
You can see my full screen? Okay, well, thanks very much, Tim. As Timothy was saying, it's I have done this a couple of times, but certainly the first time remotely. But I mean, it's been a strange year all round, hasn't it? Who would have thought a year ago that something like this would even be possible? And certainly with with remote working, I know personally, working from home was always something that I could do, and I had the technology there. But perhaps culturally, it didn't feel quite right. I always felt like I really needed to be in the office. I needed to be seen, and then also perhaps perhaps management also wanted to keep a bit of an eye on me and the team. I think there was definitely a reluctance there, or perhaps a feeling that that productivity would decrease. But look, certainly, I think we've started to find, and there's research behind it during this year that productivity has actually boosted. So a few statistics there that I dug out. Lockdown has helped. From the survey, the respondents were saying that lockdown helps us focus on the work that really matters. We're spending 12% less time drawing into large meetings and 9% more time interacting with customers and external partners. Lockdown helps us take responsibility for our own schedules. We do 50% more activities through personal choice because we see them as important, and half as many because someone else has asked us to do it. During lockdown, we view our work as more worthwhile. We rate the things that we do as valuable to our employer and to ourselves. The number of tasks rated as tiresome drops from 27 to 12%, and the number we could readily offload to others drops from 41 to 27%. So, not just anecdotally. I know we all think that things are easier to get done during lockdown, but there is actually some statistics behind it. And there's just a couple of graphs that explain what I was talking about. That I think we all find that without the interruptions, we manage to get a lot of things done. Look, that's not to say I don't miss it. Maybe I don't miss the long commute I have, but I definitely miss what they call the bump and spark. So I miss chatting to somebody while I'm getting a coffee and thinking of an idea, or have you thought of this, or maybe we could do it this way or that way. I think that's something we can't quite do remotely, but there certainly are other benefits. So constant interruptions cause stress, and I know this has definitely been proven. So some researchers conducted an experiment where they simulated an office environment, and what the guinea pigs had to do was they had to prepare for a job interview, and some of them were interrupted and asked to do other tasks while they were doing it. Some were mildly interrupted, and others were left alone. And what they found, they measured cortisol, or the stress hormone, at the end of this, and found that even though the applicants who did not consciously perceive they were stressed, their cortisol rates were through the roof. They were really high. And certainly, I know I find that if I'm trying to get something done in the office, there's nothing worse than people coming in and wanting their 5 cents all the time. I talked about working at home being a lot easier, but I had some homeschooling. I had kids running around for a lot of that, and I tell you that was really tough. And incidentally, I do have a 3-year-old terrorist running around who may come and jump on me any minute now. But look, I definitely found that difference between when the kids went back to school and when they were here. It was it really was a world of difference. And certainly, I think that's also the curse of the open office. It's great for collaboration, but I always find that the most popular rooms are the quiet meeting rooms, and it's a real struggle to try and find one of those, even if it's just for a phone call or a chat or whatever. I think the open plan office has a lot to answer for. Okay, so the circadian cycle. Look, I think there's nothing new here, and it's definitely definitely something that the mainstream understands now, that we as humans, as mammals, we respond to light, and blue light in the morning wakes us up, red light at night wakes us down, and not only makes us sleepy or makes us alert, but it affects our appetite, it affects weight gain, all sorts, increases blood pressure, absolutely everything. And I think this is well understood now, but also understood in the greater population. And we're certainly seeing it in consumer products. So, seasonal affective disorder lights, or SAD lights, something I've never seen in the southern hemisphere, but certainly they were common when I lived in England, and that's something that definitely affected me. The poor daylight in England. I think there's nothing more depressing than getting back from lunch, sitting down at your desk, having a look out the window, and realizing that it's getting into dusk and it's only like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. That's something that I wouldn't want anybody to go with. But at the same time, come springtime, it was amazing. We had so much light, still. You'd be sitting outside in a pub 9 at night, and it's still daylight. It was, and everybody. It was like this festive atmosphere. Everybody would feel it and join in. I was at Bunnings on the weekend. A big section of Wi-Fi enabled smart lighting. So these lights can change color, and they can do fancy things and hook up to your TV when you're watching a movie. But they can also dim with have color temperature tuning. So red light at night and bluer light in the morning if required. Sorry, I was going to have a sip of water. On our smartphones, we have night shift. So you can set it up that after a certain time at night, say 6, 7 o'clock, your screen will go warm. Don't know if there's much research behind it, but I have my phone set to night shift, and I definitely find it's a lot easier on the eye. It's a lot more relaxing to look at later at night. Although they tell me you shouldn't be looking at your phone at all later at night, but but I think we all do it. You go to buy glasses now, and they'll do the upsell where you can have blue lens filters. So, and the idea there is, you know, you can block this blue light that we're looking at all the time that comes through our screens and phones, etc. Okay. I thought I'd share a little project I've been working on, which is a residential development that's very high end, very luxury, and they have a few different rooms in there for the residents that that for their healthcare benefits. So the top one there is a salt room. You go and sit down, and that's kind of like rock salt that you stand on and sit and hang out in in a whole heap of salt. I'm not entirely sure what that does, but or an oxygen therapy pod over to the top right. This one down the bottom here is a I believe it's a sensory deprivation flotation tank, so you can sit in there and get sensory deprived, or now that's a cryogenic chamber. So you go in there and go up to sub-zero temperatures, which I believe is good for your skin. So like I say, some really high end health initiatives in this development, but I just thought I'd share that, and I thought it was interesting because actually, as an option within the apartments, we have circadian lighting. So you know, the technology's there that we can do that now. We can have these have the downlights or have the cove lights actually be able to change color temperatures. So in the morning we can have blue light, at night we can have nice warm light, and that was sold as a you know, as a direct health benefit. So I think that these things are definitely on our radar now. They're in their high-end developments. How long will it be before the prices are really really come down to where we can have them just in our normal homes? You know, who knows? Okay. So I thought I'd share my high-tech setup at home. Been talking about all this technology and what you need and what have you. Here's my desk, and here's my view out the window. I have a view of foliage. I have beautiful daylight coming through. I have a lamp in front of me with an incandescent lamp. So I've put my wavelengths off to the side here. So I'm getting my daylight through the day. I'm getting a beautiful incandescent light sources now. So really, I'm getting the full spectrum of lighting. I've got a window that I can open. I've got a view of foliage. Birds come to visit me occasionally, and I've got my dodgy ceiling fan if I really want to push some fresh air through. So you know, probably a very, very low tech solution, but I'd argue that this is probably the best office environment I've ever worked in terms of health. I've got fresh air, which I've never had before. I don't have refrigerated air conditioning blowing on me all the time. I've got my view of foliage, which incidentally, there's been research that people in hospital, if you have a view of outside, if you have a view of trees, you'll actually heal quicker. And I've got my daylight at any time I need it. Okay, but to be honest, in a commercial environment, in a commercial sense, this could never work. You know, I've got an incandescent lamp. It doesn't last that long. I have to change it quite often, and it's pretty power hungry. And you know, difficult to maintain temperatures, and something that you couldn't do in an office tower. And I thought I'd just share that a little picture of an incandescent bulb there that incidentally you can still buy in New Zealand. So only 74 cents. A supposedly environmentally progressive country still has incandescent bulbs at mitre 10. Okay, so I thought I'd come on to the WELL standard, which is becoming more common in developments. So it talks about a range of environmental outcomes, but always thought it was quite interesting that it looks to address circadian lighting and inject some circadian lighting into workspaces. So what the standard says and what they talk about is this EML, which stands for equivalent melanopic lux. So the idea is you need 150 EML or melanopic lux that's measured 45 centimeters above the workspace in the vertical plane. So really, you need 150 EML coming into your eyes between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Which, look, is a great initiative, and a very very commendable standard. And it's great that it's entered the mainstream, but in reality, I think it's very difficult to achieve. So I'll just explain a few things on this next graph here. So right, so basically what this is telling us, the blue line is how we achieve this 150 EML with different sources. How much normal lux is required to achieve 150 EML from a different source. So as you can see, the cooler colors, like a fluorescent 7500K, which is actually very blue, we wouldn't need very much of that to achieve this 150 EML. Whereas if we were to use an LED 2700K, very warm, we'd need a whole heap of that, about 333 lux. Typically though, in an office environment, we would use, say, a 4000K LED. And in this case, we would need 197 or say 200 lux on the vertical to achieve this 150 EML. So to interpret that a little bit further, 200 lux on the vertical would generally be about 400 lux on your desk. But the Australian standards tell us that we only need 320 lux on the desk. So really we have to overlight a space according to the Australian standards in order to achieve this 150 EML. And not only that, we have Green Star requirements which tell us that we're not allowed to overlight a space. We're not allowed to use too much power for these sort of things. So as I said, I think this is a commendable standard and a great initiative, but there's a danger there. I think if we take this paint by numbers approach, if this is just a box tick exercise, potentially we could make some terrible environments that are a lot worse than if we hadn't tried to inject this circadian lighting EML in the first place.
Dave, we've just about run out of time on the session, and I do have a couple of quick questions. Maybe
sure.
A nice short answer on a couple of these. What is the optimum in color rendering range, Kelvin, that should be used for circadian lighting?
For circadian lighting, look, in my opinion, higher the better. So I always say 90 plus. Incidentally, my 74 cent incandescent light from New Zealand gets 100 CRI.
All right, related question. Circadian philosophies suggest there should be warm light at night. Therefore, do you think external lighting should be a minimum of 3000K CCT?
Look, that's an interesting one. Look, I think... Yeah, look, I think it's unnatural to have light at night, to be honest. But certainly in terms of wildlife, we've found that the warmer the light, the better. So even as close to amber. So yes, I'll definitely be a fan of warmer light at night externally.
All right. And one last one. I think you touched on this earlier, and it also links into our next speaker after the break on healthcare. What is the industry doing in regards to people with heightened sensitivity to light, autism in the health sector?
Oh, look, that's an interesting one. I'm not aware of that much research, to be honest. I had heard that flicker can affect people with autism, but overly because they are, very sensitive to bright lights, etc. That they need something a bit more subdued. But yeah, certainly I'm not aware of any standards or even any initiatives to address that. But look, I really should understand that. And learn more about, because my son has ADHD, and I think it's something that's becoming a lot more recognised, and something that's worth researching.
All right. Well, Dave, we'll have to wrap it up. It's great to have you here again and your insights. And so please, everybody put your hands together for Dave, and he can pretend to be hearing that. Thanks, Dave. We'll be heading.
Thank you.